I just finished beating the entire Rogue Legends DLC, so in case you were having any trouble with it, I decided to make a video showing you the best tips and tricks on how to beat the Rogue Legends DLC. We're gonna go over all of the advice that you might need to know and things to look out for instead of just telling you a build to make. And in case you don't have it and you want to get it, you can use my code CHOMPCHOMP in the store if you're buying the DLC. It would greatly help me out. But anyways, let's start off. So the first thing that I noticed is that the hero doesn't really matter. The hero is just good for the early game or the artifact that you're starting with, but once you get things moved up, it doesn't actually really matter what your hero does. There might be some rare exceptions, but I brought Oben, and Oben really didn't do much after the first few rounds. And when it comes to the artifacts that you bring in the start, just bring the bouncing projectiles legendary. It's pretty much just better than everything else. And now let's start off. So the first thing that you're going to encounter is the campfire. So let's take a look at what to do when you get to the campfire. The first one is to recruit, and on the first move of the campfire that you get, you always want to recruit. You want to get a monkey that fills your weakness because you only have 2 monkeys right now and it's not that good. You're likely to have a huge weakness, so you want to fill that. Then you can heal, and you want to do this if you have lost 2 or more hearts. You'll be able to get those hearts back. It's quite good. And then enhance, you can enhance a common artifact that will give your strategy great benefits. So you want to do that if you really have an artifact that you're going to be pushing more and you want to make it better. And then mentor if no other option really fits better or you don't have a good enhance to do. There are a few times where you might want to just like mentor before, but most of the time I find it not worth it because you can restrict your stuff. And it takes multiple campfires to mentor something up to like a tier 5, for example. You could get a cheap tier 5 that's worth it, but most of the time I don't find it worth it. I did mentor one tower up to a Dark Knight one time, and that was really good, but not many other things I didn't end up really mentoring much, and I was able to get by just fine. I found it was usually better to go for the other stuff, so just keep that in mind. And then for the first few games, you're going to focus on just surviving with what's given to you. These first few rounds may be a little bit tricky because of your weaknesses. I didn't find dealing with the regular Bloons very hard. It was just pretty much like dealing with camos and leads, like camo purples in particular. That was kind of tricky. You'll also get these temporary boosts that pop up. You can just pick what's best for you. They aren't going to carry on to the next round. So for that game specific thing, you can just get whatever. It doesn't really matter a whole lot much. But as you can see here, I was struggling to some of these camos, and I had to get that super monkey, which I recruited. So you really got to watch out. So the camo, leads, purples, all of that is a huge concern starting out. So that might be some reason why you might pick a hero, maybe because of the artifact. And you don't need to fully commit into a composition or a strategy loadout. All those I would say are going to be interchangeable, but you want to just kind of figure that out once you get the artifacts, and your hero, as again, will have little impact on what goes on because they aren't going to be getting much XP. There's not many artifacts that affect heroes, so just kind of stuff like that to keep in mind. Now moving on, we're going to see we can get a chest. We can pick up this chest and look for some artifacts that will help us out. One thing I recommend early on is looking for an artifact that gives us a monkey. This alchemist one, the buff isn't really good, but it gives us an alchemist, so I'm going to take this. That alchemist was key to beating all of these other levels. Then we're going to look at the paths. For the first stage, I recommend going whichever one that has the most campfires and chests, and then for the stages after that, go for these augmented mini game or mini boss tiles because they will be able to give you legendary artifacts, which is what you want to get. If you can get the legendary artifacts, you win. If you can't, then you're gonna have a very hard time. And these legendary artifacts, there are some that are actually really good that aren't legendary, but most of the time they're legendary, so I just keep it like that. That's what really will shape your strategy, so you don't have to worry about that for the first stage. And for the first stage, I recommend not really worrying about that too much because you probably aren't going to be able to get the requirements needed to get the legendary tile. So right here, for example, we have a mini boss, and we have a goal of 50 in order to get the legendary one. If you don't get that, you get the uncommon or rare. But at this stage, we really don't have many good relics. It's kind of tricky to be able to really do a whole lot of damage with the towers that you have. You might kind of get bad luck too, so you probably aren't going to be able to make it. And there's 3 goals. The last one gives you legendary. That's really what you want to get, but for the first stage, don't really fret if you aren't able to get it. I'm pretty darn good at boss, like same with race. I've gotten first place in both normal and elite, so then I wasn't able to get it on the first try with the first round, so don't worry if you can't get it. You're going to be able to get a legendary artifact after you beat the final ending boss. which I guess you should be able to do. If you can't beat that, you don't survive and go on to the next stage. But from there, then you'll get some good stuff and you'll be able to make a good strategy, and then you can kind of win and get more legendary artifacts and build up from there. So for later on, bosses race, the least cash challenge, that's where you really get the legendary artifacts, and you want that. And if you aren't good at those modes, you're going to have a hard time, because that's really where you get all of your power and good composition and good strategy. So as you can see here, I only got 30. I didn't make it. We aren't going to get a legendary artifact, but that's all right. And that's why I recommend for the first stage only, you just want to focus on getting to those campfires and chests, because then you'll be able to, after the first stage, get your stuff, and you'll be doing fine right after that. So I just picked some stuff that's good, and by the end of the first stage, you should start getting a plan on the boss that you're fighting. Again, for the first few levels, I'd recommend just trying to focus on surviving, but now we see that we're going to have a balloon area, so I'm going to get some towers that have good pierce and good damage, nothing crazy. Some bosses are harder than others, and there is RNG from what I experienced. I've gotten both ends. I've gotten really bad RNG and really good RNG. Blastopolis on X Factor for tier 4 was particularly difficult. I was still able to survive that though, but if you kind of know what you're going to come across, you can get some stuff that would help you out. Like if you're getting Blastopolis, don't spec into like fire towers. Instead, trying to go for something else, like something that you can spam, and that will kind of eliminate that kind of the RNG. You're still going to get RNG with the map though, which kind of sucks. But anyways, you're going to run into these merchants too, and with these merchants, it's really nice because you can trade for some stuff. It's pretty simple. You just put in your junk that you don't want and these extra tokens that you get, and you can trade out for something else that might look interesting on the field. And there is no cap on how many artifacts you can get, so don't worry if like something you're gonna get doesn't necessarily do much for you. It might help later. There is, just a note, there are some artifacts that would strictly nerf your towers, so if you have that, you can get those out. So yeah, if you have one that nerfs, you just go to the home screen and get rid of it. But anyways, here's the final boss challenge. We got a Bloonarius for the stage 1, which is really nice. I just get down my towers. I got really lucky with this map, but honestly I didn't really need the luck because I kind of took this Bloonarius out super easily, so there really was no issues, and I just get that Robo Monkey down and it shreds. So again, just we got some good towers that are going to work out. We got that Super Monkey, that Alk buff. They've got good pierce. Obid's not really doing much at this point, but once we defeat it, we get our legendary artifact, and this is where things ramp up. So you're going to be getting these legendary artifacts. You can pick of 3 of them. Usually you'll get one that's good, hopefully at least, and then from there, that's really where you want to deviate into your strategy. So as you can see, I got 2 tier 5s and a artifact, and generally just get the artifact. You want to choose wisely. The tier 5s, in my opinion, aren't as good, so I usually skip them unless they're like really cheap, because it's a pain to afford them. And then just other strategies will tend to work better. There might be some where you can use a tier 5 and do really well. I just didn't really come into contact with that. And then you're given this option to extract, and this was a huge mistake I made on my first run. So just don't extract anything, and the reason for that is that you're going to want to extract a legendary so you can bring a very powerful legendary into your next run, but you can only bring 1 legendary into your next run. So through all 5 stages, you only want to extract 1 legendary, and you can extract a legendary after you finish the 5th stage once you complete the campaign. So just extract your legendary there. Just completely skip this process or just get rid of junk. It's just a total mistake if you extract something, because now you're not going to have it for the rest of the game, and you can then move on to stage 2 with your legendary. I didn't for me, but hopefully you do. And then after stage 5, once you finish the whole campaign, you can extract a legendary that you want, and you'll be able to use only that one going into the next level. So now that we have a few of our monkeys set up, we have a legendary artifact, we really can push into kind of making a new strategy. And I don't want to like give you suggestions, because there are so many things that you can do, and it's just going to be random based on what artifacts you did. So let's take a look at some of these modes. So for the races, you don't want to get overly greedy. That's a big issue that I had. For this race, I did pretty well. Just keep in mind that you have to beat the time to get the legendary artifact. You want to get the lowest time possible, but you don't have to go like crazy fast. As you can see, I got a little bit greedy here. Like I didn't need to go that fast, but there we go. I still had like a whole 40 seconds that I could have spent, but I was able to get my legendary artifact there. And if you mess it up, you're going to have to spend a heart on that, which kind of stinks. So we get that legendary artifact and we can move on. And also, by the way, this gameplay is now based on the tier 5. The regular rounds, they seem to be just very easy for me. Like there really was no issue. It's just these challenges and bosses. We then come in just to some more stuff, and I'm just speeding through all of this. But when we get, like, you can see all of those artifacts that I have there, when we really ramp things up, are certain synergies that you pick can be really good. I've seen people do like boat strategies with subs and boats. I've seen other things, the dart monkeys in particular. I did druids, but race is something that you're going to see a lot. You're going to be able to get a lot of legendary artifacts from races and bosses, and race is something that can be very tricky because there really isn't a good way to practice it. So if you're not good at races, then you're just going to suffer a lot. Same with bosses, I guess. You can practice bosses a bit easier with like the challenges and all of that stuff, but as you can see here for that race, I just got way too greedy, and it also is a pretty difficult map, I'll admit that. Like I'm pretty good at bosses. I'm not bad, I'd say, but we just ended up like being too greedy and sending too much, and I had to continue on. So unfortunately I didn't get a legendary artifact from there, but we were able to move on and get enough. So it's all right if you miss one or two. I was able to do pretty well still. Anyways, we'll move on, just complete some of these random ones, pick some stuff up. If you see a balloon that has like a bunch of sparkles around it, that's an augmented tile. You'll just get a legendary for free off of that, which is pretty cool. And now we can go into our final boss. So this is where luck might come in. Again, I said this before, it's really the map that's the luck. You can see what boss it is before, so I know it's phase. So I was able to keep this Dark Knight in here. That Dark Knight's going to be really doing really well because he's going to have bonus to camo. Unfortunately, I didn't pick up the Essence of Phase artifact, which would have really helped me a lot, but I was able to keep that Pirate Lord and get some Dark Knights up there that were strong. So just knowing that what the boss is good. Unfortunately, the map, you don't know what the map is, and this is kind of like my one complaint, along with the fact that it takes a really long time to beat with a lot of like filler rounds. The map can just totally screw you over. If I got like an extremely difficult map like X Factor again, which I did get on the tier 4, unfortunately I didn't record that, but that run was crazy. This would have been something else. If I got Dread Bloon on X Factor, geez, what even am I gonna do at that point? But yeah, so with all of those tips and tricks, really, I guess the main idea is you want to snowball the legendary artifacts. The first stage, you kind of just chill out, get everything sorted, and kind of beat that first boss. But once you get that, you need to get your artifact and start making a strategy. And as you can see here, something really funny. There we go. We finally get Essence of Phase after we beat it, but you can also get like a true sun god. So I'm excited to see the unlimited campaign and see if we can start getting like sun gods and paragons, because in the code it is written that paragons are 50% discounted cost. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. But you just want to kind of keep things simple. Some bosses might cause you to go a little bit out of the way, and something like that, but you want to just get a strategy, and then once you finish all of that and everything's done, you'll win the campaign, and then you can bring one artifact to go back home and use that for the next stage. As you can see, I did not follow that advice because I did not know that was good advice, and I extracted so many artifacts I made it way harder on myself. And then you unlock endless chimps, but as you can see, you can only bring one artifact back home. And with all of that and all of those tips taken into account, you should have a very easy time of beating the Legends DLC. The only thing to note is that if you aren't good at races or bosses, it's gonna be a much bigger struggle. I've seen a lot of people, they kind of mess up and screw around and the bosses end up getting them, so just keep that in mind and let me know how you think it is, at least on the difficulty wise. I definitely have a bit of a complaint about the time it takes and some of the RNG factors on the maps for the final bosses. It would be nice if you could see the maps at least, but yeah, just let me know.
Thanks for watching. If you want to help out the channel, you can check out these new videos, like and subscribe for more content, support the channel by becoming a member, and joining the Discord to chat with the community. Bye!